Hi guys, my name's Jay, welcome back to Jay Customs, and let's get on with this rebuild. The first thing to do is get that engine out of that Vespa. Please make sure you hit the like, subscribe and notifications bell down below. As you can see, it's not looking very healthy. The wires are hanging out, the frame's missing all of the plastics, not forgetting the massive dent on the side now hour. What is now just a shell was once a great bike. Seeing how it's been mistreated over the years is crazy. Now, let's just crack on with the rebuild. First thing first, let's start by taking the battery out. That way we can make sure nothing's going to electrocute us. Something I should have done right at the start of the rebuild, but mistakes can be made. So, here we go. Once we've took the battery out, we can then move on to the next step. There's two screws inside the seat well, one to the oil tank, one to the frame. Once you've taken these two screws off, you can then go around and check the bike because the oil tank has some cables and a fuel line going towards it. You want to get rid of these, and then the oil tank should be able to come basically straight out, as you can see me doing here. Here is the oil line, and here are the wires in the top of the oil tank. I'll show you now by beginning to remove them. I'll now start by removing the oil tap. You can start by removing the wires from the top of the oil tank, and then moving on to the oil line in the bottom of the oil tank. We'll remove that, and then the oil tank should just slip right out. Here you can see there's two screws where the battery box is. You can then go ahead and remove these two screws as they're going to drop the fuel tank. As you can see here, the person who ever put these cables in this bike wasn't exactly a genius, and they're crammed in between the fuel tank and the frame. This is where things can get a little bit shakier. I've got an old garden table and a wooden tabletop that I've put together myself. I'm putting the bike on top of the table so I have room to drop the back wheel once I've removed the suspension arm. As you can see, it's not exactly the best, but it'll do. We can now go ahead and remove the suspension arm. Using a 10mm and my impact drill, it will just come out with ease. Once the screw is out, we can now drop the back wheel from the frame, which looks easier, but again, this setup isn't the best, so it really feels like this bike wants to go. What you can see me fiddling about with here is there's a screw holding the fuel tank underneath the reg plate holder, which should not be poking there. Can now move on to the fuel tap. The fuel tap just easily slides out, which probably shouldn't have done as I found it easier to unscrew. The only reason I did do, as the screw was too far around the back to reach with a normal screwdriver anyway. As you can see, I'll pop it right back in. As you can see here, you can see where I've not gone around the bike properly, and the fuel tank is dangling via the fuel indication cables. As you can see on top, there's a little clip. Once you've pushed that in, it should just come right out. As you can see here, I've nearly dropped the fuel tank. Once the fuel tank's out, there's a little breathing hose that's at the top that can then get removed and put to the side. Can now move on to removing the engine mounting bolt, which was fairly easy to remove, but it's an old bike, so wasn't the easiest to remove. As you can see, I had a hard time here. I put the impact on one side, took one bolt off, fairly easy. Went to the other side and it would not come out. So we went redneck on this because my son has hid our hammer somewhere. I got a brick from the garden, a drill bit, and just went to town hitting that bolt out. As you can see with a pair of Mo grips, it's really not budging. Just look at how tight that bolt is in there. Once I got it far enough out, I was able to get the impact drill on there and just spin it right out. Once doing this, we can then move on to getting the cables out of the engine. Where I'm putting my fingers inside here, there's a throttle cable, which I believe is for the actual throttle, not the choke throttle, because there's a choke cable that goes into the throttle as well. It's a little hard at first, but you've got to push inwards, upwards and around, but you'll get the hang of it once you get the feel for it. Next, I'll move on to removing the carb. Took the throttle cable from the top of the carb. Now moving on to the brakes. The brake cable was a little bit hard to get undone because whoever put this on really didn't want it coming off. The bolt is all the way down at the bottom and the other bolt is all the way at the top. So it really did not want to unscrew that easy. But I've cut this down so you didn't have to watch it all. Once you've got it out, there's another bolt with a hinge that's still holding onto the brake cable. Once you've taken that out, you can just slide the cable right through. With still a little bracket holding on from the engine casing, but that was easy coming off. I didn't realise it was so easy until I realised I had just kept spinning and spinning. And there we go, off it comes, putting the bolt back where it belongs. Now to remove the spark plug, just off it pops. Not forgetting to remove any adapters that go into the engine itself. Now moving on to the wheels, we can take these 5 bolts out, which look as rusty as they are, but came out fairly easy to be fair. I have sped it up, but this took a minute, so give me a second. Once the wheels come off, I'm now just going to put all the bolts right back in order, just so I'm not going to lose any. Moving on to the front mudguard, we're going to turn the handlebars and you'll see that there's 3 bolts inside. Removing one now, which I did the same thing on the engine casing, just kept spinning and spinning and then pulled it out. The second one had a crack in it, which came out with a little bit of fuss, so I moved on to the one below that. This came off with ease. That one was just one screw holding it in. Moving on underneath the front mudguard, as you can see it's absolutely filthy. There's one screw holding it in, which was crusted to the side of it. And when I mean crusted, I mean it was dirty. Once removed, this should give you a little bit more wiggle room in the plastics, but I didn't get all this on record because I destroyed the front plastic, not realising that you have to undo the suspension to get the plastic off. I just pulled it over and snapped it all, but it was already broken. We are going to make this looking pretty clean by getting new suspension, but we're now going to move on to the rear by removing these 2 bolts, 2 underneath, and then that's everything. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please click the like, click the subscribe, click the bell notification for the next video, and when I do post it, it's going to be great because you guys are going to get to pick the